Welcome to First Star Let's Chat, an athletic therapy podcast. I'm your host, James Gardner, certified athletic therapist, certified strength and conditioning specialist, yoga instructor, human being. This platform, for the pros, by the pros, anybody in the performance space, and beyond. Welcome here to share in the stories of professionals, experiences, journeys, learning along the way. It's a platform to connect, to network, and to be a part of a community that cares, with conversations that matter, experiences that resonate, and generate ideas, thought-provoking, organic dialogue, passionate pros. Brought to you as always by First Star Therapy, Mobility Tape, Epic, and Benchmark Athletics. In association with the Canadian Athletic Therapists Association. It's First Star Let's Chat, an athletic therapy podcast. Thanks for being here. Thank you for being a part of it.
Welcome to First Star Let's Chat, an athletic therapy roundtable brought to you by First Star Therapy. I'm your host, James Gardner, and this is a platform for the pros, by the pros. Passionate pros, organic dialogue. Let's chat. Thanks for listening. Let's roll.
Rules for the evening, same as always. We're going to record the session for the purposes of uploading it to our YouTube channel to archive for now CEUs as well, for CATA members, but for recall, going back in time, pausing time, all the things that we can do with time when we have a video, as well as solving the world's problems one conversation at a time, as always. So an amazing guest tonight. If you have any questions, again, chat box is always free. You can chat, message the group, or message me directly, and I'll filter these over to Scott for the evening. Those are the basic ground rules, and we're just going to jump in here. So Dr. Scott Howitt is our guest tonight, session 10. Let's Chat, an athletic therapy roundtable. Dr. Howitt holds an honors baccalaureate degree in physical education from the University of Western Ontario and a master's degree in human health and nutritional sciences from the University of Guelph. He graduated from the Canadian Memorial Chiropractic College, completed a 2-year postgraduate residency in sports sciences, a 3-year postgraduate program in rehabilitative sciences, and a 2-year course in acupuncture. Dr. Howitt was a member of the core medical team for the 2015 Canadian Pan Am team and works with various amateur and professional sports, including rugby, bobsled, skeleton, triathlon, and the men's national soccer team. Dr. Howitt has a special interest in endurance athlete performance and coordinates the medical coverage for the Toronto Triathlon Festival and the Toronto Ultimate Club. He has created content for sports medicine courseware, has published numerous research papers, and is a lecturer for undergraduate and postgraduate sports medicine, rehabilitation, nutrition, and fitness. He is also the president of the RKCSS, which we'll get into, the chiropractic representative for the Canadian Concussion Collaborative, and the National Advisory Council of EIMC, in addition to being on the editorial board of the JCCA. He's a professor at CMCC, sessional instructor at the University of Guelph at Humber, a varsity chiropractor at the University up at York University. He's a director of MoveLab, certified acupuncture, registered kinesiologist, and a certified strength and conditioning specialist. That is a long list of things, and obviously puts Scott in very unique company in terms of what he's accomplished to this point in time. But the bio on paper doesn't speak to what a good guy Scotty is, which you'll get to see, you'll get to know, and really looking forward to this chat tonight. Scott is a good friend of mine. We met through York University at one point in time and have stayed in contact ever since. There is a mutual love of all things baseball, I think, as well as all things Blue Jays baseball at certain points in time. But I'll let Scott introduce himself, say hello to everybody, and then we're going to jump right into this thing. Lots of great things to talk about this evening. Scotty, how are you, man?
Good, thanks, James. Thank you for that crazy introduction. I always find those things a bit embarrassing, to be honest with you. It's like what's on your what's on your website or what's on your CV, and when you hear it out loud, you're like, I gotta shorten that up a little bit next time, maybe. But thank you for the invitation, and I feel really privileged to be able to chat to such a diverse and great group of people. And obviously, I've been on some of the other calls, and you've had some great presenters. So had some big shoes to fill in terms of the presentations you've already laid out there. So hopefully, I can maybe even scaffold or jump on a couple of those previous thoughts you've already thrown out there that might pull a few things together for some people.
Yeah, man, absolutely. The biggest shoes to fill are certainly not mine. Size 9.5, still not growing and probably getting smaller at this point. But really, really appreciate you being on, man. And for everybody who made the time to be here and everybody who's been checking out the website and the archive sessions, appreciate that as well. So keep telling your friends, keep making this thing grow. Getting a lot of great feedback through the CATA and other professions as well. So, but Scotty, in no way should you cut that any shorter. I think it's an amazing thing to be able to have to take 14 breaths while reading through your resume or your bio and still being able to come up on the other side. So listen, man, you've accomplished a ton. I don't know how you've done all that you've done. It's been a massive undertaking, I'm sure. And that's kind of where I guess we'll start. Maybe we'll jump in there, where you're at now and sort of your brief path to how you got there. And then we'll go into some of those things that we've talked about already. And you're definitely the glue. You have a lot of really good thoughts on a lot of the things that we've talked about in the past with past guests, but you also have some really dynamic processes and things like that I'd like to get into. So maybe just where you're at now and how you've gotten there, and I don't know, however long you want to take to talk about
that. Well, first off, James, I think you've asked every other guest about Tiger King, so I can't believe you're not asking me about Tiger King.
I was punching that one till later. I was trying to create some suspense.
So, man, that's how it starts, isn't it? So, like, let me say, I watched that show because my interns recommended that I watch that show. It was, I'm not getting that time back.
Yeah, you can't get that back.
I watched it and I'm like, seriously, what did I just watch? But look at this.
What has he got?
1998 Bulls, Miami Heat. What is this? March 10th, 1998. So I'm watching The Last Dance right now, which is a far better use of my time on Netflix. And I'm waiting to see if they're going to if that game's going to show up on The Last Dance. Because in that game, Dennis Rodman, at the end of the game, kissed Alonzo Mourning like on the cheek while someone was taking a free throw and a brawl broke out.
Yeah. Well, nobody ruined that. If you're in the room, don't type that in the chat box. There's a lot of stuff saved up for Scotty in that. I haven't watched it. Listen, like the fact that you can watch Tiger King and Save the Last Dance and still have that bio and like still be having all the conversations and being aware of what's going on, like your days must be 62 hours long. I feel like is that a fair assessment?
Well, yeah, I don't know. I watch all of that stuff and I try to keep track of that stuff because it's conversations, right? And it's like the way that you kind of started this thing about when we met, I think it was at actually a York athletic banquet. And I'm pretty sure we were just talking the whole time about like the Lansing big three pitchers at the time. Sanchez, Syndergaard, and Nicolino, and like who was the best pitcher, and like we were like totally consumed with that conversation. And I've been on so many Zoom meetings and seminars, and there's so much free stuff out there right now. It's mind-boggling, but it keeps coming back to like the person and relationships and connections.
Yeah.
And for me, it's like, if you want to come in and talk about The Last Dance, we're going to talk about The Last Dance. If you want to come in and talk about Tiger King, I got to know a little bit about Tiger King so we can talk about that. I tell my interns this all the time. It's like, okay, so music, my band's Pearl Jam, but whatever you got, but okay, music,
It's not a bad choice though.
Your best team, like your favorite team, where are you from? What school did you go to? Something. I'm looking for like how I'm going to connect to you, how I'm going to like, what is it going to be that we can talk about when we just kind of just need to like shoot the breeze about anything.
Hey, you read my mind. Like, we haven't really talked about what we're going to talk about. We're just going to talk, and we're going to get to a lot of good things. But like, I'm sharing my screen right now, and this is one slide that I made in talking to you because I knew this was going to come up. Like, here's our target, right? As soon as you have anybody that you're talking to, and you just hit on it right away, so I might as well pull it up. It's a pretty simplistic view, but I like it. And the screen quality isn't great either, but that's standard technology on my end. You're exactly right. And we've talked about it before. We've talked about it with every guest, is getting to know the human in front of you first and foremost. And hey, if you have time for Tiger King and that's part of your gig, I applaud you, man. Listen, I'm going to watch it. There's no doubt that I'm going to have to get to it at some point, but like, Netflix is not a thing that I've even been able to enter just, of late. But yeah, hey man, you do so many things. You do so many things well. And I think right off the bat, everybody in the room picks up on the fact that this is it. This is the reality. And this is how you actually deal with people. You deal with people, and you put the human first, right?
Right.
Yeah. Awesome,
yeah.
Man. Well, yeah. Maybe talk to us a little bit about like just the evolution for, let's go through like maybe the sporting side of things. Like, you're with the national soccer team now. Let's start there. That's a very collaborative team. I know a few other people that are with the national soccer team program, ATs, RMTs. It's a collaborative approach. So maybe you can dive into collaboration in that competitive space. Like, there's you and I have talked about it at length in the past. There's oftentimes like there's some butting of heads when ego comes in, and where like this is a territory of quote unquote like of a chiropractor. This is a therapist's realm, and like you and I don't think we see that as separated areas. It's more of a blended space. But talk to us a little bit more about, like, doesn't have to be with the national team even, but just a blended space in terms of interdisciplinary function in what you do.
Well, let me start. I got to go back a little bit just to sort of pull this. I got to go back to pull this thing forward, right?
Right.
And so when I did my undergrad at Western, at the time, it was so long ago, it was physical education, although it became kinesiology. But at the time, for me, it was physical education. And in the athletic injuries program there, I was like the student therapist for the rugby team, which was by far the best team, in my opinion, to be able to work with, because it wasn't the hockey team and it wasn't the football team. So you had a lot of autonomy working with the rugby team, and there was tons of injuries and tons of stuff going on. So, I mean, what better sport to get your feet wet in than in rugby, in my opinion. So it was there at Western. I mean, I thought I was going to go to med school. I went to Western, and my idea was I was going to go to med school. And in kinesiology and working in the clinic at Western, it just didn't, what I saw the sports medicine doctor doing was not what I wanted to do. I didn't want to stay in the office writing scripts and just doing assessments. And not to say that's the way it is now, but that's the way it was in, 1995.
Yeah.
It was a long time ago. So there was a track and field event, and so I looked after the rugby team, but then there was a track and field event, and rugby was a short season, so I got to like fill in into other sports after that was done. So I got to do this track and field event, and there were two sports chiros, Mark Scapitici and Mark Lindsay. And these two guys were working pretty exclusively with Donovan Bailey. And Donovan Bailey was like doing stuff around the track, and then he was coming back to the table and jumping on the table, and they would do a little something on him, and then he'd jump back out on the track, and they were watching him and like trying to like obviously help him perform, and he obviously did amazing. And I was like, what are those guys doing? That's what I want to do over there. And legitimately, like I went to chiro school knowing I just didn't want to be a family practice chiro. I wanted to do sports chiro. So at the time, there was this new sports program starting at CMCC. I went to CMCC here in Toronto for chiropractic school, did my sports residency. And through the sports residency, like way back in 2000, I actually got a chance to work with provincial level teams and some of the national level training athletes that were training at the time at the soccer center over on Martin Grove. And then I got to work with the under 20 team a little bit as well, the national team. So I got a ton of experience when I was doing my sports specialty in soccer. And that was like in 2000, 2001, 2002. And I remained working in soccer, like in the community, in Vaughan, in the Glen Shields soccer program. And so I always kind of was like connected to soccer. Our first clinic, we opened it up because of the proximity to soccer pitches all around us.
Right. Yeah.
But it was a long time between all of a sudden then getting back into working with the national team again. And getting back to working with the national team again was really in part because of the other events that I worked in, particularly Canada Games and then the Pan Am Games. And I worked with other athletic therapists, other physiotherapists that were working at that level in soccer.
Yeah.
And we're like, oh man, yeah, we forgot about you. Like, why don't you come back and give us a hand at a couple of different things? And then before you know it, you're right kind of back into it again. But
this sort of like organic path, right? Like, it's not like you forced your way back in or like tried to find a path to get there. And I think I've always sort of at least gotten to that point, and now getting better at sort of just not forcing your way in, but just sort of navigating, and continual learning is obviously a thing that you're accustomed to and you preach on a regular basis. But yeah, man, like, keep going. This is, well, amazing.
I mean, I think we'll have to come back to this because I think all good things in life take time. So, and the one thing that we really need to wrap our head around is like how long stuff takes. And we really need to have more patience in a lot of the things we're after. It doesn't happen like that. It doesn't. But what ended, like your question about like working with other professionals. So at Pan Am Games, I would be in a big room and there's like athletic therapists, physiotherapists. I was the only chiro there. There was the massage therapist would kind of take more of the private spaces. They had a room like that for me. I was like, I don't want to be over there. I want to be in this big room with all the athletic therapists and the physiotherapists. Let's roll our sleeves up and get to work.
Yeah.
And what I would say is like, you couldn't tell who was the athletic therapist and who was the physiotherapist and who was the chiro. You just saw people getting hands-on work, the different discipline influenced the intent, or it influenced the conversation, I suppose. If you're really listening, you might be able to go, oh, that's the chiro, that's the physio, but not really. The language was there was a lot of common parts to the language.
Yeah.
But in terms of the treatment, it was just like, it was a team approach. It was all hands on deck. What do we got to do to help you succeed? And I mean, I think I said this to you the other night in a different conversation, but if I was good enough to be an athlete, I would have been the athlete.
Yeah.
I just want to be part of the team. I just want to be part of whatever it is that's going to help us achieve some level of success. And if that's like going in like the close out the game in the bottom of the ninth, I'm in. If you want me to lay down a sack bunt, done. If you want me to just run up and down the pitch 1,000 times and just never throw the ball to me, fine. But it's sports therapy is where I found my ability to contribute, and I mean it makes me happy, and I think if you find something that you love doing, it makes you happy. And if you're contributing to something that is taking advantage of the skills and the knowledge you have, it's unbelievable.
Yeah. And I think this is it, right? Like everybody who's been on here so far as a guest is just so ingrained and entrenched in what they're doing, right? And for me, like, I'm geeking out on getting these conversations. Like, I want Wednesday and Sunday every night, to the point where I'm reaching out to people in between and trying to like, hey, you want to chat about that chat? You want to keep, and I know everybody's got other things, but I'm really trying to keep this thing going. And again, Scotty, like, appreciate you taking the time to do this, because you don't have to, but I know that you love doing this. And I just want to dive in because you talked about coming in the bottom of the ninth. we don't have TV generally, but where we're staying right now has TV. And the other night I was flipping through the channels because I wasn't watching Tiger King, and I saw Bo Bichette against Giolito playing. They were playing video game baseball, okay, in a championship with a broadcaster on the screen. They were playing MLB 2020, and I was just like, man, this is amazing. Like, I can get a baseball fix. Were you there or no? I don't know.
I didn't see that, but it's reminding me of my first year at Western. My roommate and I took every single team in Sega 92 hockey to the Cup, and we even won with the Ducks.
Impossible.
And the Sharks.
Oh,
you couldn't let the computer or we would play as partners. You could not let the computer touch the puck. If they did, it was in the back of the net. So you had to skate around and like keep away. Like, I'm just passing to you. We're like, you get up and then you just got to like try to figure out a game to like figure out a way to get the game to go out.
Yeah, and 92, yeah, those were rough. Like, actually, it was, what's that movie they were playing, and they were doing I was just watching Vince Vaughn, and
yeah.
They dropped it, and they're trying to make Gretzky bleed, and then he gets all excited about making Gretzky bleed in the Sega hockey game.
That was the same one, Sega 92. Yeah.
Yeah, Swingers. I think that was the movie. Yeah, it was just on the other day too. I think it might have been the same night. Anyway, but like, yeah, I was watching those guys, and I was impressed, not by their video game skills, but like, I think they were live, and nobody was cursing, so that was kind of impressive. Like, he gave up I think Giolito gave up a bomb, and then he went like right to the bullpen. Like, we'll give you somebody else because that shouldn't be happening. He didn't swear, so that was good. Yeah. Yeah, good stuff, man. Your road has been wide. I don't know if that's even a thing, but like, you've done so much, man, and you're not even halfway done. You're continually growing. You're continually having dialogue, and you're continually learning. What is the last thing you watched or you got onto probably like 10 minutes ago, but like Summit? I know we were both checking out a little bit of like that sleep summit over the weekend. And you touched on how there's so much free stuff out there. Like, it is overwhelming. Like, it's like, oh, I don't know how to harness this. I don't know how to bring all this in and like put it somewhere. But what's the last thing you've watched or hung out on with regards to that?
So, I mean, the silver lining, I suppose, of this COVID times, like staying at home, is all the different things that you can find yourself tuning into, right? I've been strategic in some of it, and like, I sign up for it, hoping and thinking that they might make the videos available later. So as long as I signed up on the front end and I can't actually watch it this week, I might be able to go back to it. Yeah. So I'm putting a few things on the back burner, hoping it works out that way.
Okay, well, you can do that here, right? The YouTube channel's up. You'll be up to watch yourself or like any of the other ones, so that's good. Yeah. What'd you get into?
So, Friday and Saturday there was this sleep recovery symposium seminar thing that was fantastic. Like, so many really unbelievable speakers. So of course I was like working my way through that. And then today, I'm on Instagram, I'm on Facebook, whatever. And, I was doing a curbside pickup for a Mother's Day present. And I don't think anyone's listening. So I went onto my phone and I hit, and on Facebook instantly, it just came up. I was there at the right time. It was a chat between Craig Liebenson and Nick Winkelman. And I was like, oh my God. So I was just like, the woman was like knocking, like she had brought the present, and I totally was like engrossed in my phone watching this Facebook presentation.
There's written all over it.
It was awesome. Like, Nick Winkelman, I mean, what a smart dude. And just so many like knowledge bombs. I was sitting there listening to it and like looking for something to like write down a couple of key points, and I couldn't do it. But I was writing on the back of a gas receipt.
Yeah, as you do. And like, you can't write on your phone at the same time as you're watching. So we need like one of those phones that has like it has like a piece of paper and a pen attached to it that you can do that with. It's like technology. This is where I'm going with my creation.
So the sleep thing, this conversation with Nick Winkelman and Craig Leemanson, and then this past week there was a sports symposium. The Seattle Sounders MLS team put this little symposium together, which is also just awesome. And you know, Nick Winkelman, Brett Bartholomew, those two guys, when they're speaking, if you see those two guys the option to jump in on something, jump in, because these guys are just unreal with the way that they break some really complex things down into some real distillable, simple things that, I mean, there's just so many takeaways.
Yeah, and those are two, I mean, Nick Winkelman I haven't gotten into, but definitely, like, you recommended it a week ago or so, and so that's on my home, like, my Canadian quarantine list for sure. And then Brett Bartholomew, I already have the book, it's just in waiting at home. It's like, it just needs to be broken out of the package, and I'm terrible with books, so I just need to, like, break its spine, pardon the chiropractic joke, and then read it and then go through it. But you touch on all this stuff of breaking things down simply. And again, like, you know that I'm doing this Altus Performance, and they're very much like Donovan Bailey and all these sprinters and getting on to the sidelines of sports, interrupting, quote unquote, the practices, doing some stuff, and then having the athlete go back and perform a little bit better. And Kelly Starrett is a big one too, you know, who's really, really popularized and stuff like that. But he's always talking about, like, the synthesis and informed simplicity, right? And like breaking things down so that they're understandable and that you're still informed. It's almost like evidence-informed practice, but like you're very informed, you're educated on it, but you can simplify it enough for anybody and everybody to take something away from it. And I think, yeah, you touched on that. Those guys you've listened to, that sleep recovery summit, like Stu McGill was on there. He had a 40-minuter, and I watched that one. And like, whew, talk about knowledge bombs. Like, man, like these conversations that are out there and available right now. It's like having an athletic therapy chat roundtable and having you on, and then being able to listen to it. This is exactly it. So I'm ready to get to some knowledge bombs, man. Let's dive in here. Everything you drop seems to be something that I'm writing down. At least I have my
funny that you mentioned Stu McGill. So one of the best quotes that you can ever use on Stu McGill, I use it all the time. It depends.
Every answer, right? But it's so true. It is so true.
Of course it is. And it actually ties right back into what we're talking about. It's the person. It's individualized. It's the context, right? So you have to, like, and in what Nick was saying today on this chat with Craig Leemanson was about, like, he talks a lot about analogies. I always use analogies with my patients. And I don't really love the word always or never, because there's exceptions, right? But I love to use analogies, and I find that I use analogies that are relevant to the person that I'm using the analogy with. So, and when you hit in on that, it's like well, in Nick's world, he's talking about cueing somebody and getting someone to do a particular activity. But I'm even just like, when I'm connecting with somebody, if I get the right analogy, it's like, yeah, I'm relating to them. They understand that I'm listening to what they're saying, and kind of I'm speaking to them directly, right?
Yeah, we talked about it. Yeah, exactly. Like, you hit on something. You know your client or your athlete on a level that it sometimes takes that analogy for them to recognize it and you to recognize it at the same time. It's like, I'm not getting through to you because I'm the greatest practitioner in the world. Maybe, I mean, you probably are, but like, but I'm getting through to you on a level that's human, right? Like we're connecting on something. I know you, I know something about you. I know what makes you tick. And it's like watching somebody breathe. If your athlete can't breathe on the table, to ask them to do something really, really dynamic or something like this in rehab on their own at home, you're probably not going to achieve that, right? So just, you hit on it, man. You hit on it, and I'm going to do this to you. Can you take 3 minutes? I'm going to put this little cartoon thing. I'm going to pull this up. We're going to watch this video because you just hit on it. We talked about it on Wednesday, and it's this little cartoon video. So let me just pull this up and let everybody watch this, because I think this is a good time for this, Scotty. This is 3 minutes. I'll cut it off briefly.
Content versus context.
Yeah.
Brought to you by the Conscious Leadership Group. Find them on the web at www.conscious.is. What are you paying attention to? What differentiates conscious leaders from unconscious leaders is that they pay as much attention to context as they do content. All leadership is a conversation. All conversation has content and context. Content is what we're talking about. Context is how we're talking about it. When you're reviewing next year's budget with your team, you're having a conversation. The content of the conversation is revenue and expenses. Good leaders pay attention to the content, and in many cases, they're content experts. Conscious leaders, however, pay attention to context. They're always noticing how they're having the conversation. Are they having the conversation from curiosity or defensiveness? Wanting to listen, learn, and grow, or wanting to defend their egos and prove they're right? Claiming responsibility or placing blame? Openness and candor, or from withholding and manipulating? One shorthand for context is to me versus by me. To me leaders see themselves as at the effect of people, circumstances, and conditions. Life is happening to them. They're victims of the world around them. By me leaders see themselves as creators of their experience. They take radical responsibility for whatever is occurring in their lives. They live from a great experience of empowerment. Conscious leaders pay as much attention to context because context in the long run determines how innovative, creative, effective, and collaborative our teams and we can be. When you're in to me, we're having a conversation based in fear or threat. And when we're in by me, we're having a conversation based in trust. Threat and fear produce results that leaves a toxic residue in the end. What we have observed over and over again is that when leaders have a conversation from to me, issues don't ultimately get resolved. They recycle. This recycling of issues is a major loss of time, money, and energy. Unconscious leaders try to address this recycling by doubling down on content. Conscious leaders address the context first before addressing the content. Conscious leaders identify when they and others are in to me mindset. They understand that this reactivity is coming from insecurity and threat, and they invite themselves and others to shift. Often, they simply ask that people pause and take a breath, because whenever they're triggered and in to me, they're not breathing well, and they're amped up on adrenaline. Then they address context directly and invite people to value listening over speaking, learning over being right, revealing over concealing facts, feelings, and personal agendas. They, of course, model the shift they're asking others to make. It's quite amazing to observe how much more easily content issues can be resolved once context issues are addressed. Einstein knew this when he said, "A problem cannot be resolved from the consciousness from which it was created." Bingo. Shift the consciousness and context, and the problem resolves. What are you paying attention to?
I don't know, man. It just seemed like a good segue. Like, I put some slides together, like, before, didn't really talk to you about any of them, but I just know, like, some of the things that we're going to hit on. And that one for me, oh, boy, I'm good at this. Hang on one sec. I just know that some of these things are going to come up, and we've talked about them routinely. Sorry about that interruption. Routinely, and we talked about it with Katie on Wednesday. You're very much into the research. You've written articles, you've co-authored, you've authored articles. You know the science, and you also know, like, you know the art form better than most. You know, like, you understand the science, but you integrate knowledge so well in your practice and with that. So just keep going, man. Dive in on your sort of approach to clients and putting them first, and how you integrate the research, or how you implement your practice.
Well, that was a great little video. There's lots of, I mean, I was making notes, like that thing could go in lots of different directions. But again, the thing that comes back to me, and they wrote like trust down the side. Trust is not something that you can get right away. Like, trust takes time. You can't rush trust. If you come out like you're the guru on something, you're not getting trust. And if you come out like as if you're gonna like be all buddy and kind of you don't even know me, man. Like, it's kind of weird. So you have to let the trust take time, like with all relationships, right? And in order to get trust, you have to give trust. Like, it's not, that's a reciprocal thing. So, I mean, it comes back to what Brett Bartholomew was saying on this call a couple of days ago. I was listening to it. Like, you have to like research. You have to ask some pointed questions, and then you need to relate to the person. And relating to the person means that you have to give a bit of yourself. Like, you have to like share some of that. Hey man, what's your best band? Where did you grow up? What school did you go to? Like, you have to like find those little spots where we can connect, and then you reframe it. And when you reframe it, that's where you provide the context. That's where it's individualized. That's where I find the analogy that fits you. So I mean,
how many of your clients know Pearl Jam these days? Like, it's got to be a slimmer and slimmer number, right? As you get a little bit older, and Pearl Jam is, I don't know if they're still playing. I think they are sometimes.
Yeah, they are.
Yeah.
And they're playing like massive stadiums, and there's a lot of people that will follow them, but they're probably all old like me. But my 8-year-old, actually, her ambition, she has not been to a concert yet, and her thing that she keeps saying over and over again is she wants her first concert to be Pearl Jam. She wants me to take her to see Pearl Jam. So obviously I got to make that happen. But
yeah, let's get this thing out of the way real quick so we can get into a jam-packed stadium for Pearl Jam. Absolutely. That sounds great, man.
So I think the question you're asking me, though, is about like, I mean, clinically, my thing that I always ask every single patient is, what have you done since the last time I saw you? That's how I start with my patients. I don't ask them about their pain. If pain is what's driving them in, we're eventually going to get to that, but it's not the focus of what I talk about. It's like, what have you done since the last time I saw you? And I'm like listing all the things, and I'm writing it, I'm EMR, so I'm typing it in there, like, okay, so you ran how far and how and what speed? Okay. And then on Tuesday you went to the pool. Okay, great. And then on Thursday you went to the gym. Okay. And I'm writing all that stuff down. Like, my conversation is about, what was your physical activity?
Yeah.
And in part, I'm going to be able to build off that. In part, I'm looking for like those glimmers where I can be like, okay, great. Cause like 2 weeks ago, man, you weren't running at all. And now look what you're doing. Like, because the person's already going to be having the things that they're going to tell you about why it sucks. I'm looking to find all the things where I can highlight why it's better, and try to build them up and give them the confidence to keep on going.
Yeah, we're kind of like beings that are going to complain at every opportunity that we can, right? Like, oh man, I need to get back to Canada. Like, oh, it's terrible here. It's 85 degrees outside and sunny every day, and like the most beautiful sunsets but I need to get back to Canada because like I'm stuck. Yeah, exactly. This is the nature of us, right?
The other thing is that, and you mentioned this before, like, I'm on the National Advisory Council for Exercise Medicine Canada. So I think all practitioners, chiro, physio, athletic therapist, massage therapist, medical doctor, should all be asking your patients, how many minutes of moderate to vigorous exercise do you get per week?
Yeah.
Great. And that's a common language that all of us can be speaking. That's not profession dependent. That's like life dependent. Like, how long do you want to live? Okay, you better start exercising. So like, let's get our head, and we can all have that same conversation. It unites all of us. It's a common message from every healthcare practitioner. Amazing. The more people that say it, the stickier that message becomes, right? So it's like, that's our opportunity. And now I noticed Dr. DiNardo's there, but I mean, how often is your patient going to see you? Like, a couple of times a year, or come in for a checkup once a year? Maybe if there's something wrong, they might see you a little bit more frequently. But opportunity, I got to see someone, they come in for some acute injury, I have to see them like 6, 7, 8 times. Actually, I'm really good, so 2 times. I'm joking, but seriously, like, we have the opportunity to keep hitting that message at every single visit. It's like right in front of us. It's so simple.
Yeah, man.
And I made that joke about that 2 times, and that's totally a joke. Because here's the thing. I don't fix people. None of us fix people. We just facilitate it. People fix themselves. Like, let's get over this. Like, you're coming in to see me and I'm going to fix you. Come on, man. Like, it doesn't work that way. Like, you fix yourself. I'm just going to provide you the window of opportunity to get into the gym and to do the things that you need to do. And if pain or some kind of dysfunction is what's preventing you from getting to the gym, I'm going to help you with that so you can get into the gym.
Yeah, this is it. Shifting that the dependence of coming in and complaining to like doing something about that complaint, right? Like on your own, you're advising, you're providing, you're on that empowerment spectrum, right? Like you're on that side of that cartoon where you're saying, I believe in empowering others, not sucking all the power for myself to see how big and strong I am, you know? And I think that's huge to hear somebody as humble as you are with the amount of knowledge and experience that you have. That's crucial to young practitioners, old practitioners, guys like me that are kind of practitioners sometimes, you know? That's huge. That's a huge message.
And that's, I mean, when you're providing evidence-based care, evidence-based medicine, it's like, what does the research say? What do I have in my own experiences? And what do you bring in? Like, what do you want? What does the patient want to be part of this scenario? Those are the 3 pillars of evidence-based medicine. That's Sackett's early work, right? So it's not to say that one pillar is more important than the other. They're all informative to make the decision. And patient-centered care or person-centered care or player-centered care, it all gets back to like the autonomy of the person. And what does the person want? Like, hey man, what is it that you can't do that you want to do? That's why you're seeing me. That's what I'm going to try to help you with. I'm going to try to help you do whatever it is that you want to do. And if you have nothing that you want to do, I have to figure out how to make you want to do something, or I'm not really sure how to help you. Like,
yeah. And you know what? It's true in sports medicine. It's true as a sideline practitioner in a clinic, whoever you're dealing with athletes, with everyday athletes, with whoever you're dealing with, to the point where now it's even like, I was hanging out in that summit over the past couple of days, and Brian Kane was on there, and I was falling in love with his stuff, right? Mental performance coach, this, and this. And he said, who do I work with? I work with strength coaches and people who are performance personnel. And the one thing that I ask them is what do you want? What's your goal? And the fact that a large percentage of human beings can't identify that makes the outcomes a whole lot harder to reach, right? For me, if I want to achieve something, but I don't know what it is, it's going to be pretty hard to achieve. And then clinically, you're speaking the same language. What do you want? And that's hard for a lot of people to identify. So I think in your evidence, like using the evidence and then identifying that with the person, you come to this collective agreement as to how you're going to get there and what you're going to do to get there, right? So you're doing it together. You're not directing or dictating. Is that fair to say?
Yeah. And I mean, if it's possible to if you know your patient well enough and you know what they're really after, if you can really sort of figure out, I'm not going to go like slam a neck like the why, but if you can like figure out like what's making it tick, even better. So an example that comes to mind is a guy that needs to get into better shape, chronic low back pain, doesn't really work out, not in great shape, but his daughter's getting married post-COVID, so it'll be an actual celebration. So his daughter's getting married, probably next year, and he wants to like crush like the dance with his daughter. Okay, I got you. Let's get to work, because that's something that's like, I don't have to like motivate you. You already have the thing, and now it's like, so if you can like ask those pointed questions or know your patients well enough to be able to pull those little bits out, I mean, now you're really in business.
Yeah, and the first question that you asked as well, like what have you done since the last time I saw you? Again, puts accountability and ownership back on the person who just walked in the door, right? So it's not like, okay, lay on the table and the first thing I'm going to do is oh, you're upslipped, oh, you're counter-nutated and your left arm is longer than your right arm and you didn't get a haircut but you should have, and all these other things. It's what have you done? And then it's assessing that compared to the last time. Katie Mitchell was on Wednesday. You were on the call, I think. And we talked about like the concussion realm and people reaching back in time for normal, right? Like you come across this pretty regularly with chronic pain, or like certainly with concussions. Do you come across this pretty regularly?
Yeah, and concussions is a really tricky one. As Katie obviously went over the other night. The one thing that, and I'm doing a bit of research on this myself, and just to come back to, the answer is always exercise. like for me, that is one of the instances where I do select always. It's exercise. There's some component to it that's going to be exercise. And on those concussion patients, what the evidence is now showing, and there's some unbelievable research coming out of Buffalo in Dr. Letty's group over there, doing like early exercise with patients, and it actually is. It looks to be like it's a bit predictive as to like how long the symptoms may go on. But the sooner we can get people activated and getting back to whatever it was that they were doing, the more some of the other things kind of fall into place. Like it gets really murky when it's like chronic headache, depression, like some of these issues, if you can just get them activated and get them doing some more physical activity, walking on a treadmill, on a bike or whatever, it really helps pull these things together. And what was interesting, and I think, I can't remember if Katie said this directly, but there is a good amount of evidence that if you come back too early from concussions into the sporting world, like the likelihood of getting a lower body injury, forget about the second concussion, that's a whole nother animal that I think we kind of went into that. But the actual ability, the chances of getting a lower body injury are increased. That ties beautifully into her research on like balance, right?
Yeah. And the other article, sort of jump in, I just wanted, because I lose thoughts pretty easily. The MSKI injuries following concussion if recovery hasn't happened. That was Eagle et al. And that resource is shared in her in the discussion section of her YouTube session, as well as her article. And touching on Dr. Letty, same trip, I think, when I was at York, we went down as a sport medicine team with one of our physicians and a couple practitioners. We went to UPMC, and then on the way back up, we went right into UBuff, and we were sitting there with Dr. Letty and his crew and just like watching them do treadmill tests and doing these kinds of things. And like early activity and exercise, like you touched on it, man, exercise is it. Like this is it. This is what every human needs. We need to move. We need to do a couple other things that I know are your key take homes as well, but exercise is it. Like we know the cascade with movement, and part of the concussion for me has always been like definitely reading the research and keeping up on it. But with athletes, we know that they identify with being an athlete. A large percentage of them equate who they are to what they do on the field or what sport they're in. And when they're told, okay, don't do anything, it's really difficult. And then you start this whole other spiral that may or may not be concussion related. And sometimes they are, sometimes they're not. Again, Stu McGill, like it depends, right?
Of course. I think one of the other things that I don't know if I'm changing the topics on you here or not, but I mean,
no topics. You just go.
When you ask a question, and I teach at the Chiropractic College. So when you ask a question like, "How's your diet? How's your sleep?" You're not like it's good. Okay. Like if you want to ask it, like ask the pointed part of it that you're trying to get to. If I'm just like trying to like cover that off, it's like I'm in an examination and like, yeah, he asked about sleep, check. You didn't get any information there that's going to actually be useful. So if you want to ask about diet, what is it that you want to know? Do you want to know that they're getting enough calories, enough energy? Is that the person in front of you, does that look like something that you want to be going into that? Are you thinking about like recovery? Are you thinking about protein? Like, what is it that you're wanting to ask specifically? If you didn't have anything specific to ask, worst case scenario, on a scale of 0 to 10, 0 garbage, 10 extraordinary, what do you rate your diet at? I'm a 7, I'm an 8. Okay. We can touch on that, but that's not like what's driving this interaction. It's a 2. Oh my God. Okay. We better dive into that a bit more. If it's a 10, you're like, okay, well, you're kind of lying, but maybe there's an odd person that might be a 10, but same thing about sleep. How would you rate, like when you wake up in the morning, do you feel like you're rejuvenated, like you had a restful sleep? Yeah, I could ask about like how many hours you got, or if it takes you a long time to fall asleep, or, there's some more subtle, nuanced questions you could ask. But on a scale of 0 to 10, 0 is not good, 10 is outstanding. Where would you rate your sleep? At least it gives you an idea if it's something that you need to chase down, or you can slide it to the back burner.
Yeah, really, really insightful. As you know, I've spent some time working with the same students. At certain times, we worked with the same students. And one of the things that I always pressed was the history, and making sure that history was really, really strong. But when you're in student mode, a lot of the time, myself as well, and even as a practitioner, is like, did I ask all the questions that I was supposed to ask? And then it comes back to this cartoon that we just watched, and it's like, am I listening, or am I just asking the question to get the answer either I want to hear, or just to get like the question checked off? Okay, got that question, got that question, got that question, got this question. So like history taking is crucial, and it's a skill in itself that I think like we could probably spend year 1 of athletic therapy just getting a good history, and that will go so far in evaluating everything. I think the human, the injury, the whatever, that the human with the injury with the human, all of those things. And then the scale thing is amazing. Like I have a really good friend of mine who's doing a lot of work right now with performance and amateur athletes, and he's scaled it down. It's like 0 to 10 is too big. And I heard somebody on the weekend say like, okay, I'm going to give you a scale of 0 to 10, but we're going to throw away 7 because everybody wants to say 7. You can't say 7. But
I like that.
He uses smaller scales, and then says like, okay, great, you've evaluated yourself, and now if I could give you X number of points, where would you place those? And then they are prioritizing what they need to get better in right away. Hugely powerful. Like 0 to 10. What's your pain like? I got hit by a bus. Well, nobody's ever been hit by a bus that walked in. I mean, some people have been hit by buses, but you get the idea. Massive insight, man. I think those are really, really key points. And you've touched on exercise, and you've touched on we've touched on the sleep summit, but like you have, I think, 3 or you're playing with number 4, right? In terms of like 3 major things that every human needs to be better at in order to get better. So you've touched on exercise, the second one being sleep, and they just had this huge sleep summit recovery summit over the weekend that hopefully they'll open the videos up, and that's very central to everything. If sleep is crappy, then everything else is probably not ideal either, or not optimal, right? So let's jump down to nutrition. I think that was your third one. Is that right? Like
that isn't yet. That I would say nutrition's probably there. Yeah.
Yeah. So touch in on that. Like how much do you do? You have your master's in nutrition, right? You've done a lot of stuff with nutrition. How often does that play? And it depends, but how often is that? Like that's a conversation that you have with virtually everybody. But again, like Scotty's really informed, right? Like Scott knows this stuff inside and out. So this isn't like people who don't have a background in nutrition or depth in nutrition. That's probably an area that we all need to improve in, right? To have those conversations, but scaling it down to, you eat McDonald's 14 times a week, or you eat McDonald's once a year kind of thing. Maybe, I don't know, like that's a different scale. But touch a little bit on nutrition, like maybe some general stuff, or like, you play that on a regular basis.
Yeah, I mean, the beauty about nutrition is now with Google, everyone's a nutritionist, right? Like everyone can be an expert in nutrition. You just got to like type it in. I'm joking, but there are a lot of people that really feel really emotional. I'm really like tied into like whatever it is that their approach is to eating is a way that you should adopt as well. I mean, for some people, it's almost a religious phenomenon, if you will. And I'm not like, you have to be your own experiment. You have to be your own N of one. So unless you're my twin brother, the fact that it works for you does not give me any idea about whether it's going to work for me. But I mean, what happened to me is that in my early practice, we really hit on a community. We were treating a ton of triathletes, endurance athletes. And these people are pretty keen about getting their nutrition right. You need to get it right if you're going to be, you know, out in a race for 8 hours or 10 hours or however long you're out there for. Obviously, I'm talking like half Ironmans or Ironmans, but there's shorter distances as well. But I had so many patients asking me about nutrition questions, and I was like looking up the answers and really wanting to know the answers and diving into the research. I was like, the next thing I know, I'm taking my master's in nutrition. And education, learning is not a destination. It's a process. It doesn't stop. Like, I'm contemplating like what I would do when I eventually do a PhD. Yeah, and I was checking to make sure no one was listening. But
yeah.
I, you know, the best in, well, McMaster and Guelph, U of T, Western. I mean, there's some great nutrition PhD professionals like within an hour of the GTA. It's crazy how many unbelievable people and how many unbelievable resources are around. And so, I mean, I was intrigued by the topic. I wanted to know more about the topic. I really dove in from the endurance kind of side of things, right, and that aspect. And that was particularly important at a moment in time when I was treating a ton of triathletes. And I mean, as the famous Ron Mon has said, like, most of what's out there in the supplement world doesn't work, and that what does is illegal. So I mean, it's not about like crushing your supplements. It's about like eating better and whole foods and non-processed foods, and I mean, whatever. I mean, we can dive into that in if we need to, but I mean, what I would say is we are looking in the high performance world for the amalgamation of like marginal gains.
Right.
So we're talking about like working with little, you know, supplementation strategies that might give you just a little bit more. And that might be the difference between winning the 100 or finishing 5th in the 100. That might mean the difference between being able to perform slightly better because you didn't cramp up or you didn't have, you know, delayed onset muscle soreness or something else that's not actually that nutritionally driven, but performance absolutely is looking to push the envelope.
Yeah, right. And
nutrition is something that's pretty easy to be able to leverage.
Right. Yeah. And going back to like your statement on education is like we've touched on, I think virtually everybody that's come on these sessions has said like, this isn't an end point. There is no end point. This just goes on forever, right? It's live for today and it's learn for a lifetime. This is it. If you're not comfortable with something, then either get comfortable with it or refer onward to somebody who is comfortable with it and keep the pieces moving that can move. As far as supplementation goes, like this is just banging my head against the wall working with athletes in the past sometimes just about like it's called supplementation. It's not called like you need this to stay you need this to be the best baseball athlete or hockey athlete or whatever. It's meant to supplement, to offset what you're not getting, right? And the rest of it goes in and out, as we know, as things that go down a toilet or in a bush if you have to, those kinds of things. So I don't want to dive too deeply into nutrition. I love just hearing like your main take homes, and you touch on exercise, sleep, nutrition. And the fourth one is kind of something that we don't even need to really give it a name other than it being like intent, right? Like it's more about mastering, I guess, what's going on between our ears, right? What would you, number 4, what do you call it these days?
Yeah, I mean, I think originally when I was thinking about this years ago, I would have said meditation. Like I was contemplating, like, if I was going to bring myself to have some sort of intentful practice of meditating, or mindfulness, or, I mean, whatever we want to wrap our head around that. And I mean, I've played around with some of the different programs that are out there, and like Headspace as an example is kind of a cool little program, and it can really be helpful for some people to like as an intro into the concept.
Yeah.
It's funny when I am intentful about trying to meditate, I fall asleep. Like I really have a hard time like going nowhere without actually going right to sleep.
Yes, you're going back to sleep. So like, it's important. It's on your list. So you're just moving from one of your important things to the other.
Right. So I kind of fail in the mindfulness, but I'm really doubling down on my sleep.
There you go.
And I suppose, I mean, what I personally do, and I used to do more when I was doing triathlons, would be to swim, because there's a lot of time just to stare at the bottom of the pool when you're doing endurance swimming. But for me, it's running. Like running is where I can really just kind of like get to that spot in my brain where I'm like chilled and I'm just in a good spot. And then there's sometimes where I'm actually running and I'm into that, flow state almost. And then it's like my brain is on fire, and it's not uncommon. Like I present at conferences and, teach and get up in front of people and whatever, and put together PowerPoint presentations and stuff. And I can't think of one that I haven't like been writing as I come back in the door from a run. Like I'm like looking for a piece of paper and a pen to scribble down some thoughts that I just had on a run. And I just figured out how to connect 2 or 3 different concepts together. And I got like the slide that's going to bridge the gap. And it's like, boom.
Exercise. This is it.
Yeah.
Coming back to your number 1 as well, that you prescribe to everybody, like you're living it, right? And you're talking about running and exercise and moving. And I'm talking like the same thing I'm doing over here is having these conversations just as a host, trying to connect people to network with you, with everybody who's on these calls. And I'm doing the same thing. Like I'm making graphics over here. And this is mine for like right now is like, I have this really big space at the top that's thought. And then I have this huge remainder of the paper that's thinking. Like I'm constantly thinking. And then every now and then I get a thought. But it's this blue space in the middle that I absolutely want to just hang out in forever. It's that flow state. It's like this creativity that kind of like, I'm not even thinking and I'm not actually having a thought, but I'm scribbling notes down. I'm coming up with like, this presentation that's like, I'm not in the world of like, I'm manifesting what's going to happen, but like all the slides I put together that I'm going to maybe cue to when Scotty's on whatever day this is, Sunday night, like, we're touching on all of them because like we're just kind of in this space where we're grooving it. We're kind of in like this happy space where you're flowing, right? And you're moving back and forth. And exercise and thought are just so connected, right? Like crazy. And then let me jump back in time again and go to like the meditative state or like the mindfulness and all these kinds of things is we do it with our son now. It's like if he gets worked up, we do one thing with him and we talk to him about his breath, and that's it. Like if he's frustrated or he's angry or he's really, really happy and like flying around the room, like either way, and we need to sort of like, let's hone in a little bit. It's like, what can you do right now to help yourself? You can keep being really frustrated and really angry, or you can keep doing the same things that you're doing, or you can catch yourself. And the same thing, Brian Kane in that sleep summit was talking about what he does with athletes. And he works with some really high caliber Div 1 NCAA football teams. And he says he has them do certain things. When the offensive line comes off to the bench, it's not get on a ventilator right away. It's you do it. You harness your breath, right? Because we know the power of harnessing the breath because it downregulates the parasympathetics and integrates the sympathetic and parasympathetic system to the point where you can function again within a matter of, I don't know the science, but like 5 to 15 breath cycles of intentful inhale, pausing and intentfully lengthening the exhale, and you regulate your system back to a point where, okay, great. So then I just took this a step further when I was doing this yoga stuff in yoga as a lifestyle, not yoga as like a physical practice, and apply that to the next patient that comes in. I'm going to ask, what have you done since the last time I saw you, for sure. I'm going to take that, and I'll always write your name at the bottom of that question. But I want to put you on the table, and I'm going to let's regulate your system before we get going. Let's spend some time with your breath work before we warm you up on a stationary bicycle, because then we're going to go do exercise A, B, C, and D, and you're going to do them, and I'm going to be on my phone. Guilty. Like, I've done that before. But now it's like this intentfulness that I can sort of be a part of with the athlete, right? Does this make sense? You do a lot of breath work with people, like in between sets or reps, or like on the table, off the table?
Yeah, and in fact, in my role for the RCSS, I help organize our conference every year. And well, James, you spoke at it a few years ago. Now that I think of that, this past year we had Jason Glass give a presentation, and what an unbelievable presenter! Like, hilarious, really funny guy, really smart guy, really knows his stuff. And he talked about like finishing off a session with somebody who was like way too sympathetic, with just getting them down on the ground, getting them to like be intentful about their breathing, and just kind of like settle them back down. Awesome. Boom. Great workout today. Good session, whatever. And I mean, I see some people, my office now is downtown Toronto, like right downtown Toronto. And I see some really stressed out, A-type personality, active people, but that are like, you know, coming in their suits from some business meeting that went sideways. And absolutely, like, if you have some strategies, and breathing is by far the simplest way to tap into this, to just influence that, you know, sympathetic to parasympathetic nervous state, you can really take advantage of that. It's interesting. There's a lot of research actually being in the concussion world looking at that very thing too, to try to get people back into some sort of balance, because it's like it becomes dysregulated, right?
Yeah. I've anecdotally, I mean, I haven't read the research on it. I mean, I've read some stuff on meditative states, and in the Buddhist practice, I've read some of those things where the first studies were done on like Buddhist monks, where they like brought them over and like attached them to a whole bunch of electrodes, just like blown away by how they could be so, just so like able to stay in that state for the length of time that they were able to stay in that state, when we're constantly searching for how to get there. But it's the constant search that doesn't allow us to get there. I think it's the irony of the whole thing. But yeah, you talk about great presenters, and you know Dana, right? Santis, from
Yes. Yep.
At Mobility Maker. Like, she is fantastic as well. I worked with Dono, her husband, when I was with the Blue Jays, and he's now with the Yankees, at the top of their sort of pyramid in terms of working. And she used to just do breath work all the time with athletes. And then she sort of like morphed into this athlete yoga instructor. But majority of what she does with all these pro athletes is breathing into position or breathing out of position, and just playing with the sympathetic and parasympathetic. And I'm simplifying what she does, definitely. But and she's a fantastic presenter, practitioner, and then like very knowledgeable as well with the research behind what she's doing. But yeah.
Well, and it's just, I think it's one of these things that we might have to revisit or dive back into a little bit, or consider how we might leverage that in the new normal once we get back to sports again. Because what I'm thinking is going to happen is everything's going to be really compacted and congested. And I don't mean like how athletes live, but I mean like how the games are going to be. Yeah. Like, they're going to be like, there's going to be less rest time. There's going to be if a national team comes together, they're going to play more than one game. They're going to play 2 games now. They're going to start to do things that are going to really compress the amount of time that athletes will have between performances. I think that's the way it's going to go.
Yeah.
So there's a real opportunity for us to be thoughtful on how we can really enhance recovery.
Yeah.
And sleep and meditation or mindfulness are intertwined. Like, these two things you can't fall asleep if you're all jacked up in a sympathetic state. Like, James, we heard this in the last 2 days, right, in this conference. So I think the opportunity post-COVID is for us to be thinking of how we're going to be able to further enhance ability for athletes to recover so that they can go again.
Yeah, and not even like to jump ahead to the post-COVID, but like, how about right now? Like coping with all of the anxiousness and the what's going to happen, how's it going to look, what am I going to do, am I going to get X, Y, Z, is this going to happen to me, is my family okay? All of the things that we're worrying about. This is a great time to start. Like, if you're a practitioner or just for yourself, you find yourself in those states, is just find, again, like Google is the go-to, but like, find somebody that you jive with in terms of breath work that's renowned and uses some science and some informed practice, and start using it on yourself if you're the example, or your partner or a friend, or like with athletes, because these are things that I talk to about with people who are type A personalities, either in the house or outside, that call and say like, I'm all revved up and like, I can't do what I need to do. And I'm like, well, when's the last time that you checked in to see like how you were actually doing? When's the last time that you went for a walk and you just walked? Like, you concentrated on what your foot was doing. You concentrated on how the ground felt. You concentrated on like the thing that you were doing. Because a lot of the time that can be simplified to the breath. And then as you're doing simple breath work, you're down regulating your system, and you come out the other side of a 3.5 minute breath session ready to go, and probably with some things like pouring out of your head into your pen. Like, your run is my sitting still. The minute that I can get to sit still, I find myself like not struggling to sit still. But as soon as I'm done, this pen goes from like really, really full to really, really empty. It doesn't make sense, but like, yeah, I think tapping into it for sure. And like, having some resources or like some understanding of breath work and meditation, mindfulness, whatever we're going to call it, is being intentful with whatever it is that you're doing. And that has to start with the breath, because you talk about it. What do we need? We need sleep. We need movement. We need nutrition of some form. But we definitely need to breathe, right? Like, we have to do that. So these are the simple ways to make people better. But informed simplicity, I guess, is kind of the synthesis of it all, right?
Yeah, and I mean, I think, again, that's maybe there's a number of silver linings that are happening right now with what we find ourselves doing day to day. And there's an opportunity to maybe do some things that you hadn't previously given enough attention to, or you hadn't previously really devoted any attention to. There's an opportunity right now just to like kind of like slow down a little bit and maybe appreciate some of the things that are around us. And I mean, I've done, besides running, I've spent a lot of time in the last couple of weeks doing landscaping in the backyard, and I'll tell you that my recovery is not the way it used to be when I was like in university working landscaping. My recovery now is like I spend a day in the backyard, and it takes me 3 days to like get back to like where I was, because I'm like crushed the next, like when I get up tomorrow, I'm gonna be like, oh my God, I'm like because it's just the manual labor. I'm not used to it, right? But
yeah, I need to go see
but the simple I mean, you spend some time working in the backyard, and then like it wasn't really what you were like honing in on, but man, like just walking around on grass and bare feet, it's kind of like it's a feeling, it's a thing that just is, it's good, man.
Yeah, man. And we don't have a lot of grass, but there's this nice beach with an ocean. And yeah, again, like, I need to get home. I'm stuck. I don't know what to do. It's like, go walk on the beach, put your feet in the sand, and just like be there. Like allow yourself to feel what you're feeling and be what you're being, good, bad, or other. And then again, like, yeah, I think coming back to the breath work and doing that with virtually anybody that I work with moving forward is kind of like I'm coming to that as like, this is my entry. This is my entry to somebody else. This is my check-in. This is my history right away. If I don't know, take a breath for me. How does that work? How does that look? How does that feel? Where does that get stuck? And you can see that with an eyeball test. And then, okay, this is going to be this type of, without judging or going down that pathway, but you can be informed certainly with just by watching that. So, yeah, good stuff, man. Really, really good stuff. So we got nutrition, we got sleep, we got exercise, and this intent or this mindfulness or meditation, man. That's awesome. That's really, really good. Yeah.
So all those things have to come into when you're with a patient, right? They do. But what it really comes down to, though, is the personal connection. Is like some of this is like, you learn this in kindergarten, man. Just be a good person. Just be a good person. And it's because sometimes you're not going to get the diagnosis right away. And sometimes you're not actually, that exercise is not going to help that person. And sometimes you kind of got it wrong and you're treating something and you should be actually doing something else. But people will stick with you to figure it out if you're like, man, I just like you. Like you're a good guy. You're funny and you tell good stories and you listen to me. And like, so it's okay. It's okay, man.
Yeah. I mean, not having the Blue Jays to talk about right now is kind of like, it's really stumped me a little bit. And I was also going to ask about your landscaping, and did you do anything? Did you cut in like some, I don't know, the 92, 93, like, I don't know, did you do something with the shrubs or anything with Blue Jays? Yeah.
No, I didn't do anything sports worthy out in the backyard. But I have a feeling that camping this summer is going to be limited. I don't know, maybe we can socially distance camping, but so I made a fire pit today. So I'm bringing the camping to the backyard. The kids are pretty excited about having some, roasting some marshmallows in the backyard.
Most bizarre non-coincidence of the last 48 hours. My son asked if we could have a fire pit so he could roast marshmallows. Like, I swear to goodness, like this just happened today or yesterday, and like he said, like, I want to roast marshmallows in the backyard. So if social distance, we'll wear masks if and when we get back, and we'll come over and roast marshmallows. And if, I don't know if Mayor Tory is, I don't know where you're at, but like, I don't know if it's legal or not, but we'll keep it quiet as to where you're at. Yeah, fair. Okay. So I also told you about like what my plan was before COVID-19, before this all happened. My plan was to take the dog that we have here. Now we have two, but one big dog, and fly back on a cargo plane into Florida, and then road trip up the East Coast and stop at Major League Baseball stadiums along the way, right? Like a baseball junket along the way. Not going to happen anymore unless I go to, like, I don't know, one of those. They're looking at three 10-team divisions in spring training facilities with no fans or something. I think they're looking at. It's going to be a bizarre turn of events for pro sport, right? Like, pro sport is going to have to be really creative, right? You have any creative ideas with what they should do? Or have you heard anything that you liked? Like, just from a game standpoint, not from like you're the guy that's going to treat everybody, but.
Well, I mean, I'm in a lot of these conversations actually because of the triathlon stuff too, right? So, right. I mean, there's a lot. I mean, I just don't see how it's going to happen with fans. So it's going to be some version of something without fans, and it's going to be challenging for the athletes to get up. In baseball in particular, I mean, I think basketball, like, guys play basketball all the time in a gym, like, in a park and whatever. Like, you don't. There's a different way to wrap your head around how basketball might look without fans. I don't know. Baseball is going to be a weird one without fans. Yeah,
and watching guys play video games on TV with a broadcaster, that's not it. I don't think it is. I mean, I could do it for the 5 minutes I did it, but like Lucas Giolito, like, I don't want to watch him sit in the leather lazy boy spinning back and forth and like throwing curveballs up there trying to get guys out on TV. But anyway, really good stuff. I'll just say, Scotty, if you got like 2 or 3, 4 more minutes, and then I'll let you go. I know you have lots of things going on. The other thing for me when we're talking about like online stuff, and if anybody has any questions, dump them in there real quick, or type them in real quick, and I'll get to them. With all of this, the silver linings in this COVID and like this connected world that we're creating here, and everyone's creating an accessible, free things and conversation and dialogue. Coming back to your sleep thing is like, I find the more time that I spend, and I had this conversation a few times, so the more time I spend on the computer reading and like doing these things, I either can't contextualize it, or like it's really affecting my sleep. Like to the point, like I'm in my sleep, I go to lie down, and then I'm like reaching for my computer because I might be missing Stu McGill talking about something that I forgot, or like, you know what I mean? Do you find that a lot, or you're able to separate, or do you have any, I don't know, just put it down, James, and turn off your, I don't know, tie your hands together. What do you think?
Well, a couple of things. It's funny because I put something on Instagram, I think yesterday, about like, I have so many scraps of paper and notes all around me from all the stuff that I'm writing down all over the place. And one of the things that I'm doing fun is my 8-year-old Karina, I'm reading her all the Harry Potter books. So I think what are we on 6 now? The Blood Prince or whatever that one is. And so she loves Harry Potter, so she has the wand. So I was sitting on the table next to me. Now she's taking it upstairs. So I like put it up to like my temple, and I was like rubbing it onto my temple as I was reading stuff. And I was like, oh, I guess I need a pensive. I need some place to like dump all those thoughts, so I can come back to them at a later date. But obviously we can't do that. So I mean, what I'm finding is that Zoom is a great platform for education. It really, like, we can like learn a lot of stuff. We can check off some really cool topics. I mean, I can see on people's faces that I'm looking at that, like, I know that I've had a few aha moments with a few people here tonight, and that's, as a teacher, that's what you're looking for always. But
I haven't gotten that look off my face yet.
If you spend too much time on Zoom with too many people around here, like the way that we all communicate, and we're all looking at each other's eyes, and you're looking at your hands, and you're looking at expressions and whatever, it's hard. Like, it's hard to, like, cognitively, it's overload.
Yeah.
And we can't multitask. Like, multitasking is a myth. Like, we do one thing and then we do the other thing, and then like we go back and forth. We don't multitask. That's been shown. But so what I was gonna say is, and if you're on Zoom all day long, just go to the speaker view, because you can't. If you're on the gallery view for too long, it crushes your brain. Like, I've experienced this in the last couple of weeks, where you're on Zoom all day long, and then it's like Zoom fatigue, and it's like, man, it was only like 3 hours, but I got to go lay down. Like, I'm like spent, like laying on the couch, like, oh my God, like, because teaching, I could be doing that like 10 hours one day, and it doesn't do anything to me like that. Yeah.
This is one page of notes that I just looked at, and like, this is it right here. So that's my thoughts. That's my thoughts. Sometimes I feel like a lot of the time, and as soon as you said go to speaker, I'm kind of directing it as the host, and I had it on gallery, and as soon as you said go to speaker, I was like, oh gosh, he's directing this at me. I put it on speaker, so you'll see that in the playback when we get to the archives. But that was a page of notes that my son made in my book. I guess he was trying to keep up with my page right next to it. Looks very similar. There's just a whole bunch of stuff, but it's great to have a whole bunch of stuff and then write it down, and then eventually it formulates itself into some sort of stream thought, or not, and you end up just going off on tangents like I do on a regular basis. But hey, good question came in last minute here. Might be a bit off topic. Any good books to read or books you'd recommend? Attitude, lifestyle, philosophy, healthcare related, or does it have to be? I think we touched on a few good authors, right? Like Nick Winkelman. If you're looking at the concussion stuff and exercise, Dr. Letty, Stu McGill, definitely anything like he touches in terms of like, well, anything. It depends. And then like, yeah, so anybody else that
so the last book I entirely read front to back was Endure, Alex Hutchison. It's a great book. It's a little bit about running, but it's way more than that. It's about the power of of the human being to do kind of crazy stuff. So Endure would be high on my list. Anything in the Harry Potter series is good, just to like take your brain to a different place. And especially if you have a kid to read to, I mean, what better thing than that? And then the book that is on my nightstand that I just need a little bit more time to get through it is Range by David Epstein.
Yeah.
It's a great book, but all of my conference travel stuff at the end of April, and actually Olympic qualifying in March, and then another conference I was supposed to go to in May, everything got canceled. So I don't have my plane time to finish actually reading something. Like for me, on the plane is where I actually have enough of a chunk of time where I can really consume something.
Yeah.
So Range, David Epstein is the one that I would say, if you hadn't heard of that one, I'd get on that.
Yeah, and a lot of good stuff. And the other thing that you mentioned is like getting outside of your realm too, right? Like trying to do some stuff that's relevant to what you do. But like the one that I kind of started reading was this one. I'm deep into it. I feel like I'm one of those people that just picks up a book, starts reading, and then I pick another one up, and I got like 3 or 4 on the go. So I'm reading like this, and then putting it down and reading the fascial, like anatomy trains book, and then I'm putting that down and doing stuff. So a lot of different stuff. But there's a lot of good stuff out there. One more question. Attack this however you want, Scotty. What's the most challenging obstacle you faced in your practice, and how did you get over it? And this is from Caleb. Caleb, man, good to have you in the room. Thanks for being here. And great questions. Yeah, so attack that one, Scotty.
I don't know, like from a practice perspective, I mean, the challenges are largely in my experience in my practice, we're business oriented. And the challenge there is like, if you go to school to be a healthcare practitioner, you don't go to school for business. So your schooling in business is the school of hard knocks, otherwise known as making mistakes and then trying to sort it out. Now, the good thing with that is when you make some of those business mistakes, and David Epstein talks about this. I don't have them back here again, but like the enemy of, I'm going to totally change this quote a little bit, but the essence of what he was saying is like, the enemy of deep learning is immediate success. If you really want to sort something out, you got to fail a little bit so you can figure out exactly how it is to really solve it and to really understand it. So failing actually gives you a way deeper understanding of the possible solutions. So the challenges, Caleb, would have been mostly on the business side, mostly doing things that probably if we would have had any kind of business sense, we wouldn't have made the mistakes. But I mean, that said, now I have all that information to share with other young practitioners that are kind of going out there and starting out their own clinics or starting out their own practices on their own. And I guess probably the mistake that we mostly made right off the hop was that we were so like in it to help people. I didn't want to touch the money. I didn't actually want to like take your credit card and be the guy tapping it. I wanted to be separated from that. Like I just wanted to like, I'm helping people, but we didn't have anybody working at the front desk. So if one of my other practitioner partners wasn't free, like there were people that were like not actually paying, leaving. Yeah. And then, I'll get you next time. I'll get you next time. And then sometimes, and you're not going to send someone to collections for $100.
Right.
So if that ends up becoming too much of a thing, well, then that's a pretty horrific thing in a business, to have all kinds of accounts receivables but none of them in any big chunk, all in small little amounts like that.
Yeah.
And then you're trying to help people. You got to pay the rent though. And I can't pay the hydro bill with an IOU from the patient that hasn't paid me yet, right? So you got to get comfortable with the uncomfortableness of collecting money. You have to be okay with that, or you have to have a front desk that's just going to do it for you. And when you're first starting out, sometimes you're by yourself. You got to do it all. So be okay with like charging what you rightfully should charge, and be okay with like collecting that. Like it's like, there you go.
Yeah. No, you can see the message there. Thank you very much for the detailed answer. No better way to end than like exactly where we began, right? Live for today and learn for a lifetime. Scotty, really appreciate having you on, man. I think we could go another 3 hours. I know you have another call. I'm happy to stay on if anybody wants to catch this wavelength that I'm on right now, because I'm about to go into, I don't even know where, but anybody wants to hang out, I'll stop the recording and we'll just hang out for the remainder. Scotty, really appreciate your time, your efforts, your friendship, your mentorship, your willingness to do this and being accessible. And I can't say it enough, man. I can't wait to be working with you on a regular basis again, and maybe even getting out to a Blue Jay game or sitting on opposite couches watching two baseball players play baseball games on a computer. But not to minimize this, man, thank you so much. Really, really appreciate it. Dr. Scott Howitt's been our guest this evening on Let's Chat Session 10, an athletic therapy roundtable. Scotty, thanks again, man. Have a great night. We'll talk again soon, I'm sure.
Parting words, James, and I don't know whose quote this is. I'll finish with this, is challenge is the opportunity for greatness. So the best stories we have, the best things, the things that we feel the most passionate about speaking about, are the things that we've overcome. The things that are the hardest things make for the best stories. I mean, a little humor doesn't hurt either, but the tough stuff is the stuff that makes you resilient, is the stuff that, man, that's what stories are made out of. And it matters what we say, and your patients, like, you got to figure out how to communicate with them, how to relate to them, and how to tell stories, man. Just, if you're good at telling stories, you're going to be fine.
Amazing, man. Listen, thank you everybody for being here. This has been the 10th session. It feels like we just started, and we have a great lineup this week as well. We have the head athletic trainer at the University of the Bahamas on Wednesday, Sasha Johnson. She's basically started a program here. She is ATC through the NATA, an amazing human being. Great to listen to, very accessible again, very passionate. And she'll provide a lot of really dynamic stuff in terms of starting a program, in terms of becoming somebody who athletes lean on quite regularly, developing protocols, things like that with the university setting, and all kinds of things that weren't in place before. And then next Sunday we have Steve Lidstone on, who is Steve. Steve will be on Sunday night next week. He leads Brock's performance team, Brock University. He started the McMaster Strength and Conditioning Unit. He's a certified athletic therapist as well as a strength and conditioning coach. Done a lot of stuff nationally. So really, really power-packed week. The theme being in the lead. So we have a couple people who are in lead roles at universities in different parts of the world. And really great perspectives both, and really amazing human beings. So look forward to those two sessions coming up. Scott, thanks again, man. You got to run. I'm hanging out. Good night, everybody. Thank you for being here.
Thanks again for being here. Thanks for listening. Thanks for being a part of this community. Check us out online, firststartherapy.com. That's FIRSTAR therapy.com. Or email us with feedback, consult@firststartherapy.com, CONSULT@firststartherapy.com, on Instagram @firststar.therapy, and our podcast host @letschat.at. This is First Star Let's Chat, an athletic therapy podcast.